Can we get started? Good morning, everyone. This is Andy Carey. I'm the Executive Director of the U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership. We're getting started momentarily. We had a technical glitch at the start of the presentation. And now I'd like to invite Fernandez Esparza to give us a welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. This presentation is being provided by the U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership in collaboration with the Municipio de San Miguel de Allende. We want to thank our dear friend Fernandez Esparza for coordinating with us today. If you are interested in listening to this presentation in Spanish, we are providing simultaneous interpretation. So down at the bottom, you can, at the bottom right of your screen, you will see the globe with interpretation underneath. If you open that up, you'll be able to select the language you'd like to follow. And my colleague, Laura Munoz, is assisting today in providing the translation. And my other colleague, Celit Panuelos, is assisting with technical support. So thank you both. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a number of people joining us today. There are about 40 of us on the call at this time, and we expect to hear to have some additional people join us. Please go to the next slide. Today, we're talking about funding sources in the U.S. for Mexican nonprofit organizations. One of the questions we get most frequently is, if I'm a nonprofit organization working in Mexico, what possibilities exist to have philanthropy or donors or foundations from the United States to assist my work? And today we look forward to sharing with you that there's good news. There are many organizations available and interested in supporting you and your mission so that you can do and continue to do the amazing work in your local community. The U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership is a nonprofit organization. We were started in 2008 after a successful 6-year period of capacity building funded by the Ford Foundation and the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation in the borderlands in support of community foundations. Since 2008, our member network has grown significantly to over 350 organizations from academia, business and corporate partners, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and grant-making foundations. Our organization is a binational membership organization whose mission is to support a network of organizations that build prosperity through leadership, collaboration, and philanthropy in the U.S.-Mexico border region. Now, many of you here with us today may ask, well, my organization isn't in the border. Could we also participate? And today we want to say, absolutely. We would be honored to have all of you participating with us. And later there will be information on how you can reach out to us by phone, by email, by website, social media to make that possible. It's not expensive to participate in the Border Philanthropy Partnership, but the services are tremendous and the opportunities are endless. So we look forward to working with all of you. Next slide, please. The Border Philanthropy Partnership works across a thriving region. Next slide, Salith. The slide is not proceeding. Next slide, please. There are several organizations and mechanisms and opportunities for legally incorporated nonprofits to receive funding from the United States. It's very exciting to be leading a nonprofit organization, especially at a time during so many difficulties with COVID-19, with the immigration crisis facing the United States and Mexico and Central America. There is so much happening at this time that now more than ever, our communities need us. And what we need to do is continue to find ways to find people to work with us to bring additional investment into our local communities to help us, whether we work in arts and culture, whether we work with education, whether we work in public health, whether we work in child services, no matter the issue that we're leading or advocating for, the important thing is to knowingly, willingly, and excitingly to invite others to co-invest with you. Next slide, please. In the United States, it's very important to understand that there are a number of foundations looking to make an impact, and they're looking for nonprofit partners. In the United States, partnerships and collaboration are certainly available for groups in Mexico. And what we're looking for is for groups that have a related mission, that are looking for expansion, or that potentially have existing international programs. So what you want to do is in your research that you're going to be doing to help find out who might be interested in your work, you want to do your due diligence so that you understand what organizations invest in programs that you're leading. They're also going to be excited to know that you're looking to grow your work, to grow your impact. And by doing that, you're looking for people to help you accomplish that. And there are many groups across the United States that work internationally. And so it's important for you as a nonprofit organization in Mexico to work diligently to get on their radar. Next slide, please. In addition to partnerships and collaboration, you may wish to consider your own legal incorporation in the United States. Mexican organizations can absolutely incorporate a sister organization in the United States. In order for this to happen, there's a few steps you need to take. You will need to develop and file articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State or the state's attorney's office. Now, there's 50 states across the United States. You're going to want to choose the state that makes the most sense for you. It could be that a foundation will only help an organization that is legally set up in a particular state. It could be it makes sense for you to choose a state that's on the border with the United States and Mexico, whether it be California or Arizona or New Mexico or Texas. It might make sense for you to choose a state where there's a larger population of people from your local area. If you do your research, you'll know if you're in Oaxaca, for example, that there's a large community of Mexican nationals from Oaxaca in a particular area of the United States. It's important to make those considerations. Also, you can apply for designation as a federal tax exempt organization with the Internal Revenue Service. The Internal Revenue Service is the equivalent of Hacienda in Mexico. So the IRS can take between 3 to 12 months to respond to your request, but it certainly is a possibility. And also you'll need to register your organization with the regulatory agencies in each state where you plan to be fundraising. Next slide, please. It's also important to consider grant-making foundations. A grant-making foundation in Mexico, we use the term fundación really to signify that it's a nonprofit organization. It's going to be very important for you to understand that the term foundation typically in the United States means somebody providing grants to local community agencies or to other agencies around the globe. So a foundation is a nonprofit corporation or charitable trust that makes grants to organizations or institutions or individuals for charitable purposes, science, education, culture, and religion. Here in the United States, we have private foundations and we have grant-making public charities. The private foundation's money may come from a family, it could come from an individual, it could also come from a corporation. These foundations have an annual requirement for payouts, which means they have to give a certain percentage of their assets away every year. Typically, it's around 5%. So you'll see that the generosity flowing from these private foundations is actually rather significant. If they're sitting on a substantive endowment, a patrimonio, as we say in Spanish, then they're going to have significant payouts. And so what they're going to be looking to do is to make charitable gifts. And it's also going to be important for you to understand if you have a project in your organization and that you need $100,000 for. Well, it's not likely that you'll find $100,000 from a single organization. You might have to find a collection of foundations that are going to help you. And what they like to do is co-invest. What they're looking for, nobody wants to be the only investor because that's a concern to them that if they're the only ones supporting you, if their support stops, that perhaps that foundation's or your effort locally is not going to continue. So that becomes a challenge in providing viability. So you want to try to get as much support from as many different organizations as possible. Next slide, please. Grant-making foundations is the third opportunity. A grant-making public charity, sometimes called a public foundation, gets its money from different sources. This money comes from foundations, from individuals, and government agencies. A grant-making public charity, for example, could be Save the Children Federation. It's important to note that Mexican nonprofits do not need the authorization from the federal government as a donataria en el extranjero to receive funds from grant-making foundations in the United States. And you can see a link for you to review this rule. And following the presentation of this presentation, we will make available the PowerPoint slides to all participants in today's call. Next slide, please. Community foundations. A community foundation is an extraordinary opportunity for your local organization. There are over 750 community foundations across the United States. And what this is, it's a foundation made up of multiple foundations, of multiple funds, of multiple donors looking to make an impact. And so this opportunity for you is rather significant. For example, when you do a search, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit, you'll see that a number of foundations that may be interested in your work, that a number of them are going to be community foundations. Here in the United States, there's a couple that are very well known for doing significant work internationally. One is the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, and another is the International Community Foundation, based right here in San Diego. They're dear friends and partners of the Border Philanthropy Partnership, and they're doing extraordinary work. They're actually ranked, I think, number 12 in total giving to Mexico, is an international foundation. They're in the top 10. It's just an amazing commitment that they have to support nonprofit organizations in Mexico. But a community foundation is a great opportunity because within community foundations, they have multiple donors, multiple funds, and multiple interests. And this is where the real opportunity comes for you, because whether you're working on the environment or public health or an education initiative, there's going to be multiple opportunities for you to make that happen. Community foundations offer numerous types of grant making through donor advised funds, endowments and scholarships, other fields of interest, giving circles and more. They can make an incredible impact. They're also funded by individuals, families, businesses, and sometimes government grants. As I've already mentioned, there's 750 community foundations operating across the United States in urban and rural areas in every state. This is actually also taking hold in Mexico. There's a community foundation network that's part of our network. It's called Comunalia. They're doing extraordinary work. The community foundation effort in Mexico, I believe there's 22 community foundations operating in Mexico. About half of them are in the northern border that are working closely with the Border Philanthropy Partnership. Others are based in different areas of Mexico, but they're all doing extraordinary work. But I invite you to consider Comunalia and all the different member organizations that they have working in Chihuahua, in Baja California, in Oaxaca. They're just doing extraordinary work. And we have many partners and friends. They just named a new director, just an extraordinary individual. There's Comunalia is just a fantastic opportunity for the nonprofit organizations in Mexico. And what I would like to invite all of you to consider is, if you need assistance in raising funds, your organization may want to consider operating a fund within the Comunalia network, which means you would set up sort of a bank account with Comunalia where they would invest your funds and you would help grow this opportunity. So it would be an extraordinary collaborative partnership to work with the Community Foundation Network. You can also do this within the United States with Silicon Valley, with the International Community Foundation, with Arizona, with San Antonio, with multiple different community foundations. One of our partners is the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona, and they have multiple groups that they're working with in San Miguel de Allende. So it might be of interest for you to consider opening a fund within the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona. And if you did that, there would be significant opportunities also for your organization to receive a grant. They have a fund through the Sharon Kent fund at the foundation to help support nonprofits in Mexico, particularly in the community of San Miguel de Allende. So there's lots and lots of opportunity for you to consider to grow your presence. And what happens when you open a fund within a community foundation network, you actually expose yourself and your organization to a whole nother world of individual donors and other fund holders that may want to support your effort. The Community Foundation giving in 2015 internationally was $315 million. And so I leave that point with you because if you can imagine, if your organization were the recipient of part of that generosity, it would be absolutely outstanding. And so there's really some great opportunities for you to consider the Community Foundation world. And the other thing I would like to mention is the Community Foundation world is also followed by the funding world. The Charles Stewart Mott Foundation has as an anchor activity for their philanthropic generosity across the globe is they actually work through community foundation networks. So by considering opening a fund for your organization in a community foundation, it absolutely opens that door for you to actually get on the radar of a major international funder like a Silicon Valley Community Foundation, like a Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, like a Ford Foundation. So it certainly is something to consider. And here in the United States, just a week ago, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, based in Michigan, announced $1 million grant to the New Mexico Foundation based in Albuquerque. In that fund, that $1 million is going to support all the migrants coming up into the northern border for initiatives to help them lead a dignified life, to help get them access to legal services, to help access health and wellness services, to help them as they explore this journey into a new life for themselves in the United States. These are funds that are designated to help them make that transition in the most dignified and meaningful way possible. So I plant these seeds with you because I think it's really important for you to consider. And just one last point I will share about the role of community foundations is their share of overall international giving of US foundations was just under 4% in 2015. And I will share with you one other quick point. In the United States, during the pandemic, we had about $1 billion was raised from community foundations to help respond to COVID-19 activities across the United States. And I will share with you that 10%, over 100 million of those dollars were actually raised in the US-Mexico borderlands by our partners in the Border Philanthropy Partnership, from San Diego Foundation to Arizona Community Foundation for Southern Arizona, the Mexico Community Foundations, San Antonio Area Foundation, El Paso Community Foundation, the Paso del Norte Health Foundation, family of foundations, just an extraordinary commitment to philanthropy. Next slide, please, Salif. Now, many of you are going to be asking, how do we find these foundations? And one of the things I would like to share with you is part of the service of being within the Border Philanthropy Partnership membership is we have a subscription to the foundation directory online. And we make this available to our member network. So one of the value adds for being a partner of the U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership is we can help you find some of those resources for your own organization. So for a minor contribution to cover your membership costs in the U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership, you get access to the foundation directory online. And what this does is it provides you unique, very behind the scenes information about what foundations across the globe, particularly in the United States, are investing in projects that you champion. So there are 238,000 US foundations listed in the foundation directory online. And what they do is they will help you. Let's go to the next slide, please. They will help you understand where you can make a bigger impact with additional investment. And you'll see in this next slide. Salif, please, the next slide. This is what the screen will look like. So you'll go in and it'll say, win more grants and make a bigger difference. Find the right funders now. So you're going to put in the search criteria that you want to find, and you'll add in, whether they're a prospect or how you're going to find out about this information. You start to create a profile of the different fund opportunities that you're looking to achieve. And what this does is it helps. So if you were to put in education and in Mexico and who's doing scholarships, and a whole host of organizations are going to come up. When we did the searches for the humanitarian crisis in the borderlands, we put in our search to which foundations are going to help, and you can categorize them by the top 10 foundations, and what you start to see is a pattern. And one of the things that developed is we noticed that the Silicon Valley Community Foundation has a number of donor advised funds, as an example. And we're reaching out to them because we want to see what we can do to help educate those donor advised fund managers to get on the radar of the work that is being supported in the borderlands, and maybe there's opportunity for co-investment. And so what it does is it starts to give you important research information about why this group should be looking at you as an organization. Next slide, please. What also happens is you can start to see the different requests for proposals. Go to the request for proposal slide, please. The next slide, there you go, thank you. So here, what you'll see is there's also an opportunity to learn about who's asking for proposals, who's looking to give away money. And so when you hear news about an RFP, this is really important to pay attention, because what this is these are organizations asking for you to reach out to them and tell them about how cool your efforts are, because they want to consider you to give you money. They think they're looking for co-investment opportunities. Who's doing amazing work in the world? Because what a foundation does is they're looking to have impact, and they get impact by giving money to others. And that it's a duplicative effort that helps grow their capacity to make an impact. This morning, I was on a phone call for half an hour with a foundation I've had 2 calls with now, and they're going to be making a contribution. They reached out to the Border Philanthropy Partnership and they said, Andy, we want to make a contribution between the US-Mexico border. We want to support the migrant issues happening. Please identify some organizations that we can support. And so what we did is we went out and we created a whole list of the BPP network of who's doing what. And we added some other organizations, and we've gone back to this funder and said, based on what you've told us and what you want to make an impact, these are the organizations you could consider working with. And today they asked me to reduce all those numbers down to 3 or 4. And so based on what they said, we said, well, look, based on what you're telling us, these are organizations that are doing a great job in this effort. And they said, well, now tell us how much we should give them. And so we came out based on what they said and how much they want to do. We gave them a range between $5,000 and $25,000. And they're likely in the next 2 weeks going to make a contribution between $25,000 and $100,000 in support of these organizations. It's just amazing. But the point here on this slide is, looking for those RFPs, looking for groups looking to give away money is very, very important. It's going to be hugely important. You see in the middle of the screen, it says deadline. When do you have to submit something to? Is it a full proposal? Is it a letter of intent? And there's other things to consider, because you also want to make sure that you're always ready to go. So one of the things I would share with you today is if you're wanting to get money into your organization, you also want to make sure you're grant ready. And we can do another webinar about being grant ready, making sure your house is in order, making sure all your files are up to date, your financials are up to date, making sure you've got everything you need. So when you get the call for a request for proposal, it's important to make sure that you answer it within the time frame that you have, and be able to respond in a timely way. And what you don't want to ever have happen is the night before the proposal's due, you don't want to be scrambling, oh my gosh, where's the last audit report? Or where's the bio of our board chair? Or where's this information? Where's our annual report? You want to make sure you have all of that ready to go. That's very important. Next slide, please. When you are looking for where do you find foundations, where do you find grant opportunities, one of the things that happens, next slide, please, Salit. Thank you. Where to find foundations and grants. There are many opportunities that you should be on the lookout for. Here in the United States, there's different groups doing activities, and this is a great place to find foundations looking to give away money. Now, when they do sector events, a lot of times, just in the spirit of transparency, there's a rule that you're not supposed to go to these events and start asking people for money. But I can also share with you that everybody does it. So you need to be cool, you need to be discreet, and you need to kind of just in a savvy way, go to these events and talk about yourself. Say, oh, we're here from this city in Mexico, and we're doing this great work, and it's really exciting to meet all of you, and thank you for putting on this conference, and find ways to talk about you, because in telling your story, you're not asking for money, but you're telling them exciting things about yourselves, and it's a way for them to say, wow, I would like to know more about that. Let me give you my information. Let's arrange a time to talk. Now, by getting them to be excited about you, you've now opened the door for yourself to get them to help you, to get them to listen to who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and why they should potentially co-invest with you. The sector events include Philanthropy Southwest. They're an extraordinary partner of ours. They're based in Dallas, Texas. They're also a member network, just like the Border Philanthropy Partnership, but they're limited to just grant-making foundations. And they're also limited to people just in the Southwest. So they deal with California, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado. They go to Kansas. They have some people in Louisiana. They get a little beyond the Southwest, just like we get beyond the border. But it's an amazing organization, and there's very important foundations, community foundations. The Meadows Foundation participates with them, a huge foundation out of Texas. Independent sector is a great resource. The independent sector is very engaged in public policy advocacy, but they also have a deep tie into all the major foundations across the world. Council on Foundations is just like CEMEFI. Here we're mentioning the US-based groups, but Council on Foundations is an extraordinary group. They do meetings every year, and they're open to the public. You could go. So one of the things you're going to want to do is in your fundraising is you want to set aside some money in your very limited budgets. You want to go to some of these conferences. If you're not attending the annual conference with CEMEFI, you should be. Because if you go there, that's where you're going to meet the leaders of Comunalia. If you could get to the annual meeting in Council on Foundations, and I know right now we're all in pandemic and nobody's traveling, but you could attend virtually. Right now, if you can't afford to attend virtually, you've really got a problem. I mean, because it's so affordable, because you don't have to pay for anything except the conference registration. And because it's virtual, they've lowered the cost to, the cost of a lunch in a restaurant for $25, maybe even up to $100, but it certainly does not provide cost prohibitive barriers to get in the door. Hispanics in Philanthropy is a great partner of ours. They're doing amazing work, and they're also located in both countries. They're based here in Oakland, California, just north of us. We're based here in San Diego, as I mentioned, but Hispanics in Philanthropy is doing a wonderful effort across the United States and Mexico, and actually into Central America and the Caribbean. And one of the things that's important is you have to remember who's on the board of directors of Hispanics in Philanthropy. They have leaders from the Gates Foundation, the Ford Foundation, Silicon Valley, all the big foundations, and they're all paying big time dollars to participate with Hispanics in Philanthropy. The annual membership cost for these big foundations is between $5,000 and $25,000, $50,000 to be a part of Hispanics in Philanthropy. And Gracia Goya, a good friend, is based in Mexico City. So if you're not talking with Gracia Goya in Mexico City, you really need to get in touch with her. She is extraordinary, a true professional, and very committed to the cause. And she could also be a great resource for you. Association for Fundraising Professionals, AFP, in Mexico, they do fantastic work in Baja, in Mexico City, in Monterrey, and Chihuahua. They have chapters all over the country, but they also do events in the United States. You should get to them. They do them in San Diego, they do them in Dallas and San Antonio. They do events all over the place. You should consider getting on the radar of attending an AFP meeting. The Board of Philanthropy Partnership, we do events. We do them in the United States, we do them in Mexico. We would love to have you attend. We don't charge to attend our events, but they're great, great networking opportunities. Right before the pandemic hit, we were doing activities all over Mexico. We were in Monterrey. My good friend Agustin Landa participated with us. The Montemayor Foundation participated with us. Comunalia participated with us. The Tichi Munoz Foundation participated with us. Members from PECHAC and FESAC. And so we really had great representation. Gonzalo Ria Orontes participated with us at these events. And when we've done them in the United States, we had the Inter-American Foundation, the Mott Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Casey Foundation, Kellogg Foundation. So, you know, the whole point of doing these events is bringing these funders together, getting them in the same room, allowing people to network, to celebrate their work, to talk about all the different things that they're doing locally. And it's a chance to tell them who you are. And it's a really great opportunity. You know, there's other regional networks that are happening. In Obregón, they do the Red Comunitaria meets, both in Obregón and across Sonora. In Tijuana, Red Hacer meets, Acción Social en Red. In San Miguel, the groups meet, Board of Philanthropy Partnerships doing annual trainings down there. You know, come to these events. You know, when we do them, the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona representatives are there, and they're handing out $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 annually, and you want to get on their radar. You want to say, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and it's your chance to shine in the stars. You know, in newsletters, the Board of Philanthropy Partnership puts out a newsletter. I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to put our website in the chat so you can all see it. The Board of Philanthropy Partnership newsletter is a great opportunity to get information. We publish it in both English and Spanish. If you're bilingual, I recommend you get both. If you're only monolingual, only speak Spanish, only speak English, be sure to get on this radar. You want to receive this every 2 weeks, every 15 days. We put it out. It usually goes out every other Wednesday or Thursday. And we tell you what's going on in the sector. We tell you what's going on at the Board of Philanthropy Partnership. We tell you what's going on in our member network. And we're paying attention. We are stalking our member network every day, all day, in social media, on their websites, and their newsletters, to help pull out that information that they've shared about themselves and to get it to a wider audience. These newsletters go out 24 times a year in each language. So that's 48 times. They're going to government leaders in both the United States and Mexico. They're going to all the leading foundations in both countries. They're going to community foundations. The dissemination is incredible. So you want to get this, but you also want, if you're a part of us, you'll actually get included in this. So it's a great way for you as a member of the Board of Philanthropy Partnership to actually be included. And we're celebrating you. And what we do is we give them enough to get them thirsty for more. And we put in contact this person for more, and we'll send them right back to you where we can drive this support right into your organization. You know, social media, we're also very active in social media, and you should be too. If your organization does not have a presence in Facebook, in LinkedIn, in Instagram, in Snapchat, in Twitter, you are making a mistake, because it doesn't cost anything except your time. And so many organizations are doing just a fantastic job. And so Get an intern to help you. If you're not sure, start with one. I know it can be overwhelming, and we have to do this work in both English and Spanish. And so it's a lot of effort, but it's a great way to get your message out, and it doesn't cost much. And what it does also is that it gives you a little bit of respite on keeping your website more focused on longer term initiatives so that you don't have to constantly change your website every day. But social media allows you to be relevant and responsive at a moment's notice, and you can grow. You can do fundraising, you can do advertisements, you can get people to like you. There's lots of ways for you to engage people, to get yourself recognized, more known publicly, and to celebrate your important work. So it's a great way to find out about foundations and grants, and it also is a way for you to be savvy in choosing who you want to follow. So you want to make sure you align yourself, stay away from politics, but align yourself with those foundations that should be on your radar. Align yourself with those other organizations doing similar work that you, so you can find partnerships, find new friends, find collaboration. It's just an extraordinary way to grow your work. And you want to set a goal. If you don't have a Facebook page, you want to set one up by the end of this month. And within 3 months' time, you want to get up to 200 followers. And by the end of the year, let's have 1,000 followers of your work. It's really not hard. You can make this happen. And you can do it in both languages. You can post photographs of your activities, make it exciting. This is your chance to really shine and to help you grow your presence, because the more people know about you, the more they're going to want to participate with you and give money to you. So it's really just a great, great opportunity. And as you can see here in our newsletter, there's always a section up at the top that gives you a brief synopsis of what some of the key stories are. We always go into what's news about us, then we go into what is going on about our member agencies, and then we go into specific sections about US-Mexico relations, about philanthropy, about academic studies, and we highlight things that are going on. Over the years, we've been able to talk about the Tec de Monterrey or the Universidad de Monterrey, or our friends at COLEF, or the Ibero, or what's going on in San Miguel de Allende, or what the Tichi Munoz Foundation is doing, or what Red Hacer is doing in Tijuana, what Comunali is up to. It's just a great opportunity to help celebrate our friends and colleagues in this work. And we're not competitors with each other. One of the things we like to talk about so much is so many people think, we're competing for dollars. You're really not. There's enough money out there for everybody. There's enough way. Everybody's got to find their niche and invite people to be a part of it. So great, great opportunities. Let's go on to the next slide, please. The next point we were going to get into is point number 5 on equivalency determination. This is a very important concept to discuss, because it's important for everyone to understand that for US-based organizations, they want to make sure that the groups they're helping are indeed able to receive resources, that you truly are a nonprofit organization. And so they have to determine equivalency. And what this is it's a process by where a US-based foundation is going to evaluate that an organization based in another country is equivalent to a US-based public charity, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so they're going to ask you for a bunch of information. They want to make sure they know all that they can about you so that they can feel good about the support they're going to provide you. They're going to ask you about your articles of incorporation. They're going to ask you for your financial information. They're going to ask for you, if you're an asociación civil, they're going to ask for the documentation you have to demonstrate that. They want to know about your board of directors. They want to know about your operations. They want to know what your budget is. The more they know about you, the more they can feel good about supporting you and your work. Our great friends at CEMEFI, they've been around a long time. Jorge Villalobos just stepped down after a very distinguished career of over 30 years of leading the Center for Mexican Philanthropy, just an extraordinary individual. And he's been, his successor is another extraordinary leader that is no stranger to this work. And it's really exciting. So if you're not participating with CEMEFI, I really encourage you to do so. They can support your Spanish-speaking NGOs undergoing the equivalency determination. They can help you. The Board of Philanthropy Partnership can also help you. In the point you'll notice in my presentation, I'm talking about all of these groups because one, they're our friends. These are our collaborators. These are our partners. These are organizations doing extraordinary work. Nobody owns this sector. And so it's important that we all work together, that we support each other, because today a grant may come to you and tomorrow it'll go to somebody else. And it's really important because at the end of the day, we want these grants to come to everybody, because when we all thrive, we all can lift each other up together. And so I'm a firm believer that there isn't competition amongst us, but there's really collaboration. And it's hard to collaborate because not everybody's good at it. Some people still feel threatened, or they have that mistrust, that desconfianza, as we know, is strong. But, we need to be bigger than that, and we need to collaborate. And, you can't have a member network of 350 organizations and be afraid to promote it. So we're very proud of all the groups that we work with, and we're excited to support their effort, and we celebrate them. We want them to do well because that's what we talk about in our newsletter. So if they don't do well, we can't talk about them in our newsletter. So it's really important that we all work to help this. And, when you're working on the equivalency determination, it's not something to fear. Because the other thing that happens is when they're going to make contributions, they need to comply with the laws of Mexico and the United States. So before they can make a charitable gift into Mexico, they have to make sure that, the Patriot Act after 9/11 in the United States in 2001 is a very serious situation, and it changed the rules for international grant making. So foundations have an obligation to help make sure that they're complying and they're not helping groups that shouldn't be helped because somebody's involved in illicit practices. And so that could be a problem. And so you want to make sure that this process is smooth and seamless as possible. And in Mexico, we have to comply with the Ley de Antilavado, the Money Laundering Act, to make sure that the organizations comply with the rules. And so lots of things to consider. The next point is friends of organizations. These are U.S. private foundations are looking to be involved in international grant making, and they sometimes do supports through a friends of opportunity. And what this means is foundations give overseas indirectly through an intermediary organization. One of the things, the Border Philanthropy Partnership does a lot of this work. As I shared with you this morning, we were on a call for our second call with a new foundation that's tied to some very high net worth people in the United States that are making investments internationally for philanthropy. And they're going to do a project through the Border Philanthropy Partnership in support of Mexico. So it's really a great opportunity to be able to support that work. And don't be afraid of working through an intermediary organization, because yes, they charge a commission. We get 10%. A lot of those foundations will pay that commission on top of the gift. We've worked with a very generous donor in Mexico. When they make their charitable contributions, if they want to give away a grant of a specific amount of money, they pay the fees to the Border Philanthropy Partnership on top of the gift. And many will do that. And so don't be concerned about the commission, because at the end of the day, you get that gift, and then you will likely get a second gift and a third gift. And so don't worry about having to pay out to work with a third-party organization, because it's really to your advantage, because it's getting money into your organization. Next slide, please. Businesses and corporations are a huge opportunity for you to consider. U.S. companies in 2018 contributed over 20 billion, 20 mil millones de dólares. This is a lot of money to social causes. And some of their strategies include local businesses affiliated with corporations in the U.S. You can contact local and regional managers and learn about philanthropic interests at the corporate level. Many companies have foundations or corporate philanthropy programs. There are huge, in today's world, if a company's based in one country, Toyota, for example, Toyota is a Japanese company, and they have interests all over the globe. They have interests in Mexico. They have interests in the United States, Mexico. And so they're looking to make an impact all over the place. By helping get your organization's work on their radar, you have a huge opportunity to get them to invest with you. A few things to consider. The further you get away from the headquarters, the smaller the gift becomes. And that's because the authority to make those gifts really rests within the headquarters. So, for example, if you're in the northern border of Mexico in Nogales, for example, and you want to approach one of the maquilas to help you, and they will likely help you. They might give you $5,000. But if you go to the headquarters of that maquila that might be based in New Jersey, the decision to help you and the amount of money they're going to give you is likely to grow. It could double or triple or quadruple. And so the closer you get to the decision maker, the better. Here in San Diego, we have a very generous international corporation, Sempra Energy. Sempra Energy is the power company, and they have seriously expanded their interests into Mexico, in Baja California, north and south. They have huge installations in Chihuahua. And so if your organization is doing work in Baja, Norte, Sur, or in Chihuahua, or even other areas of Mexico, Mexico City, you should get on the radar of Sempra Energy. They actually set up a foundation in Mexico called IENOVA. IENOVA is a sister organization as part of the Sempra family. It's independent because it's a Mexico-based corporation, but where does their money come from? Their money comes from Sempra. And annually, IENOVA gives away $1.5 million in Mexico. We're in conversations with IENOVA to work with us to allow us to do some training to the groups that they want to give money to. And so we're not taking away money from their grants. We're going to get a separate fund from them to help train the organizations like all of you, so we can help you be better stewards of those resources. And it's likely that the groups that we would be providing training to are going to be the groups that they're going to want to give money to. So I encourage all of you on this call today to consider IENOVA. They're based in Mexico City, but they're also here in San Diego, and they have leaders in Tijuana. And the other thing that's really important for all of you to consider is all of these organizations I'm mentioning, you should also be considering their leadership to serve in the board member capacity for your own organization, because one of the obligations they have is to be out in the community, to be visible, to be participating. And so based on who you are and where you're located, it might be possible that you could get actually a representative from one of these organizations to actually sit on your board of directors. And that would truly be remarkable for you. Over the past 10 years, Sempra Energy actually has a leader on our board of directors. And that is, not only have we helped Sempra do some of their charitable giving, because they give it to us as an intermediary and then we give it out, but we've also been blessed with their charitable giving in support of our work. So we've helped them in a significant way share over $100,000. And then on top of the $100,000 that they've distributed to nonprofits through us, they've also made charitable contributions to us. And so it's really a remarkable opportunity for you to find that way to work closely with businesses and corporations. Wells Fargo, working with the banks. The banks are amazing partners for all of you to consider. If you are not engaged with a bank, start with the one where you hold your money. Start with the one where your board members hold their money so that they understand who they're dealing with. If you have a successful business leader in your community that is working in support as a volunteer or as a board member of your organization, go talk to their banks. And it's a great strategy because they start to see, wow, if I want to continue to have the business of Corporation X, I need to also pay attention to who Corporation X is helping in our local community. And these are very tried and true successful strategies. We've been the recipient of very generous gifts from Citibank, from Wells Fargo, from Point Loma Credit Union, different banking institutions. So reach out to them because they can help you. It's part of their interest for their corporate philanthropy, for their community engagement, for them to be out in the community. And one of the things groups tell us, there's 35 million Mexican nationals living in the United States. And they frequently reach out to us and they'll say, Andy, we're from Mexico. We want to be philanthropic. We want to support, but we don't know who to help. And so what I always do is I said, look at the member list of Board of Philanthropy Partnership, choose any of them, and you'll make a great decision. We'll also sit down with them if they don't like that list, and we'll say, well, what do you want to do? Who do you want to help? What cause is important to you? And we'll help them find the organization. Not too long ago, one of our partner organizations, Cadenas de Ayuda para Mexico, they're based in Mexicali. They were looking to make a charitable donation. And I know they're very devout Catholics. And so I helped them connect with a Caritas institution in another part of Mexico. And they are shipping a huge in-kind gift to this group to help them. Just extraordinary efforts. But it's really just finding out, listening, working on our listening skills so we know what the people want to do, how they want to make an impact, and finding that right fit. There's a fit for everyone. It's patience, it's perseverance, and it's really just an opportunity for you to find that group with who you want to help. You know, there's other groups, Home Depot, Lowe's. These are great organizations. I was just in an event about a month ago for one of our newest members, Tijuana Sin Hambre, and they were their fiscal agent. And we were at the dinner party, and I joined the guy at the table from Lowe's, who's in charge of all their charitable giving for the state of California and internationally. It was divine intervention. And he reached out to me, he handed me his card. He said, you and I need to talk, because what they do is they provide in-kind gifts. You know, think if your organization builds homes or restores a daycare center or supports a school, and you need materials to do that, whether it be construction equipment, supplies, water for the workers doing it, no matter what it is you need, having an innovative partnership with Lowe's or a Home Depot could help you. You know, Cadenas de Ayuda, they did a program, they do programs, phenomenal programming every month. And I know a few of us on this call have participated. I've personally done, my staff colleagues have done. I know Agustin Landes here, he's been doing some trainings with them. And as we do this reach out, but they did a panel discussion. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the person from Home Depot for Mexico, based in Monterrey, came and delivered a presentation on how they're looking to engage with Mexico and how they can make an impact. So by you guys paying attention to who's doing these events, who's doing these opportunities, and getting in there, they don't cost anything. Get on their radar so that you can meet these people, because you have opportunities. Like in this conversation, I know questions and answers are coming up and chats are coming up. At the end of this conversation, we're going to go through all of them and we'll be able to answer them. But imagine sitting in this conversation with the person from Home Depot, and you get to raise your hand and say, dear Juanita, we're doing this project in this community. We would really like to partner with you. And she's going to send you a private chat and give you her contact information. But if you're not making these contacts, you can't make those requests. And so you just, move forward, make these communications, make the opportunity, because you know what, if you don't ask, they can't help you. So the worst that'll do is they'll say no, and no doesn't hurt. I've been in this sector for 30 years. I've been told no a lot, but you only need a couple of yeses. You only need a couple of yeses to make this work. And you know what? They know what you do. So if you are with them and you're not telling them about your work, they think you don't want their help. So by you not raising your hand, by you not telling your story, by you not, as we say in Spanish, poner la camiseta, they think you don't want or don't need their help. And so by you getting out there and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, and yes, we could use your help. They may not be able to help you, but chances are they will. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Fiscal sponsorship. We've talked about this a little bit, but this really allows you to be, to loan out or to borrow someone's nonprofit status. You know, we were started in 2008, and by 2013, and you got to remember, this is interesting because we've started with community foundations as the basis of our membership. I've already explained to you that community foundations do funds, they have donor advised. I've encouraged all of you to open a fund. But sometimes opening a fund isn't the way for everybody to go. And it's not that it's wrong or it's right, it's just, it depends on what individual needs are. And there were several groups coming to me and say, hey, we want to make a contribution into Mexico. And so I would send the people on to the Community Foundation Network. And a lot of times the deal would get sealed and everything would go forward. But sometimes the match wouldn't be made, either for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And they would come back to me and they'd say, Andy, we still want to make this contribution, but we don't want to do a fund. We just want to, it's a one-time thing. And so the Board of Philanthropy Partnership did some research, and we determined that we were going to be providing fiscal sponsorship services. And even some of our community foundation members in Arizona and New Mexico and in Texas, including here in California, they came to us, and and even the Mott Foundation, we did a big grant with them that was a pass-through for Comunalia, actually. And so what happens is, what it is it's like a one-time relationship, or it doesn't have to be one time, but it's transactional. They want to make a contribution of $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, whatever the amount is, and they want to give it to somebody, and then it'll go on to the next group. So what they're asking for is for you to help them. That means you assume the responsibility to do all the background communications. You assume the responsibility to create the relationship. You assume the responsibility to ensure that the group that received the funds is going to be a good steward, and they're going to do what they said they were going to do with that. You get a fee for this. We charge 10%. A lot of groups charge more than that. But what it does is it allows you to share your 501c3 nonprofit tax exempt designation to an agency that doesn't have one. And it allows you to receive a charitable gift on their behalf, and then you complete your due diligence, and then you give that money on. To date, we've done over $6 million in fiscal sponsorship relationships. It's rather significant. We've done this with the federal government of Mexico. We've done it with Montemayor Foundation. We've done it with Tichy Munoz. We've done it with the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, with the San Diego Foundation. We've done it with Cadenas de Ayuda, the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona, many, many groups. And so what it does is it allows you to help leverage your fiscal and nonprofit status to allow others to benefit from it. And it's really important because it allows for groups to receive generosity. For example, the foundation I spoke with this morning that will be identified later, not in this, but in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be their fiscal agent for this support. They're a US-based foundation, and they were going to make a contribution to the migration challenge, but in the United States. And I was able to convince them that there's lots of money has been raised in the United States, but where the real need was in Mexico. And so this morning's call was really designed to help get them over the finish line, to identify the groups that they're going to help, and with the quantities that they could help, and all that effort that could have also done good work in the United States. But I was able to prevail to them and say, look, there's lots of money that's been raised in the United States, but there isn't any money addressing these causes on the other side of the border. And so if you would consider through a fiscal sponsorship, we can help you make this impact, and it'll really get to the root cause of the problem. And so I'm very excited about that, because that means the collective effort of all of us here in this call and others, we can really start to help provide some needed relief to these situations. So fiscal sponsorship is something really to consider. It's an administrative framework that helps groups really have an impact. And when you don't have all the administrative things in place, through a fiscal sponsor, you can still get there. And so it's something for you to really consider. Next slide, please. In-kind giving, donativos en especie. This is oftentimes an overlooked opportunity. This past year and a half, we've had to increase our in-kind giving support in significant ways. The American Red Cross approached me at the beginning of the humanitarian crisis of the pandemia, and what we had just come out of the humanitarian crisis of all the migrants in the border. What they had warehouses full of portable beds, blankets, sheets, pillows, hygiene kits with deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, shampoo, and they needed to dispense with it. And they contacted me and they said, can we give it to you? And I said, wow, this would be wonderful, but oh my gosh, what am I going to do with it? We have cubicles at the San Diego Foundation building in our offices. I don't have a warehouse. I have a beautiful home with a car, with a garage, but even my car can't fit in the garage. And I was like, what are we going to do with this? Well, some real opportunities persisted, because through collaboration and partnership and working with your donors and listening to what people are trying to do, one of our major donors and partners in our Chairman Emeritus, R.L. Jones Custom House Brokerage, they have warehouses all along the border. So I reached out to the CEO and the chairman and his San Diego partner is actually on the board of directors of the Border Philanthropy Partnership, Lalo Acosta, and his boss is Russ Jones. And I reached out to them and I said, look, we're about to take possession of 6 semi-truck loads full of materials. Would you help us? And they said, absolutely. Tell us what you need. And so what we did is we arranged to get all of this material loaded onto semi-trailers that they got someone to donate. So we were able to do this without raising money. We were able to just, it was a good thing. My 2 college-age sons were home from college, and one of them works at Home Depot and is certified to drive a forklift. So I told him, I said, figure out how I rent a forklift and you're going to drive it. And we loaded these semi-truck trailers with all this material. And we sent the first part of it to Cruz Roja Mexicana in Tijuana. And it was used to set up mobile clinics in Tijuana, Mexicali, Tecate, Rosarito, and Ensenada, where we helped over, I don't know, I think 20-some thousand people benefited from the mobile clinics we were able to set up across these 5 communities. Well, then we had to get the second shipment across, and Cruz Roja says, oh my God, we're still handing out the first shipment you gave us. So we called our friends at Cadenas de Ayuda in Mexicali, and they were able to reach out to all the agricultural workers. And they were doing shipments in the middle of the night because that's when the people work in the fields because it's so hot in the northern border, in the desert, as many of you know, that we had to be able to get to the workers when they were working. And so we gave the rest of it to Cadenas de Ayuda, but it didn't just happen. So this in-kind gift, we involved the Consulado de Mexico in San Diego. We involved the Consulado from the United States in Tijuana. We worked with DEEF representatives in Tijuana and Tecate and Mexicali. In a separate shipment that I didn't even mention, went to El Paso and in Juarez. And so what it is we were able to, through personal partnerships, we were able to reach out to the authorities, explain the situation, and explain, look, we're not going to pay duty, pay a fee to the government to let this through. This is a good guy issue amongst all of us, and we need to all help. And we were able to convince the public and private and nonprofit officials to all come on board. It had its moments. There was a few moments where tensions rose and people wanted this and somebody else wanted that. And somebody said, oh, we're not going to do it. And we were able to prevail on everybody to keep the coalition together and to get these items across. And just 2 weeks ago, I will share with you another really exciting story. A doctor, a surgeon from Los Angeles, a Mexican national, and now a US citizen, wanted to do surgeries of children recently born in Mexico that needed a life-saving operation that wasn't available in Tijuana. And this surgeon came down and performed the surgeries. And we had to get the surgical equipment across the border because they didn't have it. And so he donated the surgical equipment that he had. It was used, but it was all in, it's not really used, but it wasn't newly purchased. And so we had to get it across the border. And so I worked with my friends at the consulate, and we were able to put the items in a consular vehicle, and we got it to where it needed to go. And we were able to get the materials across the border in a way so that we could comply with all the rules and regulations, but we wanted to make sure that these surgeries happened. And it was really, really exciting. And I will share with you one other story, because the same group, Bebé Cardio, that was organizing this in Tijuana, they also are working to, they contacted me about a month ago and said that a new child had been born to parents that were binational. The mother was from Mexico, the father was from the United States, and the child needed a life-saving surgery that's only available in San Diego. It wasn't available in Tijuana. And I don't mean to say that something's not available, but it's just, Rady's Children's Hospital is one of the world-renowned surgical centers, and there's a very dynamic team of medical professionals from Mexico working there, but this child needed to get there. And so we were able to work our consular contacts between the Mexican consulate in San Diego, the US consulate in Tijuana. We got them to clear the deck and to work with all the authorities to get that newly born child to Rady's Children's Hospital. In a month later, that child is now 3 pounds heavier and is undergoing life-saving surgeries, but because of the goodwill of everybody involved, that child has a great future and could go on to be a doctor, a lawyer, a mayor, a nurse, a nonprofit professional, a board member of a nonprofit organization. But that child has a great future because of this in-kind gift opportunity, because of the commitment of people looking to do well and support this binational craziness we call the US-Mexico region, and taking advantage of opportunities on both sides of the border, and just the goodwill of people from Mexico and from the United States coming together for humanity. And it's very, very exciting to see this. So I mention all of these stories because sometimes understanding the heartwarming component of this can drive us to think in more creative and compelling ways about how things could be done. And I was telling people last night, I was at a dinner party with some of our friends and colleagues in this work at a home of somebody from Tijuana that lives on the US side. And we were sharing that no never has to be a part of the answer. That wouldn't it be cool if we could always find a way? There siempre hay una forma, siempre hay forma. And I really believe that. And in the Border Philanthropy Partnership, when people make requests of us, we always try to find a way. Sometimes no just means you're mean and unaccommodating. And we always work to find a way to say yes. Sometimes it's not possible. You can't always say yes, but where there's a will, there's a way. And I really believe that. And I encourage all of us to kind of take that sense of urgency that where there's a will, there's a way, because we need money for our work. We need money to support the impact we're looking to make happen. And we need that gumption, that desire to share our story, to share that reason why people should invest with us to make this happen. And so I encourage all of you to think about it. And let's go on to the next slide. I got a little ahead of myself in my story, but working with the US consulates and the embassy really has some great opportunity. There are lots of ways the United States expresses charity. USAID is doing phenomenal work in the borderlands in Monterrey, in Mexico City, and Oaxaca, and other areas of Mexico. So you should get on their radar. The Biden administration has increased the budget that USAID has. They're working to push democratic issues. I know there's some disagreement going on between the Biden administration and the AMLO administration about the role of nonprofits in Mexico and what USAID funded organizations are doing. I think all of that will work itself out. No one is working to overthrow democracy or government, but we're working to engage public policy advocacy about issues that are important. And so, they provide small amounts, but if you're doing incredible work, you might be able to get a small grant of $5,000. The United States has a large consular presence in Mexico. There's a presence in Tijuana, in Juarez, in Nogales, in Matamoros, in Nuevo Laredo, in Monterrey, in Hermosillo, in Mexico, in Cancun, in Cabo. They have diplomatic outposts, small and large. So reach out to them. Make sure they know you're there. Make sure they know what you're up to. Invite them. The Consul General of the United States in Tijuana just retired last week after a 30-year distinguished diplomatic career that started and ended in Mexico. And since the 4th of July celebration that they hold at all the consulates across Mexico every year couldn't happen, the consular staffs across all of these groups went out into the community and they did service projects for the day. And so get on their radar. Maybe next year they'll do a service project with you. They can offer in-kind support. They also might be able to call a US-based corporation and say, hey, this nonprofit over here is doing some pretty incredible work. You should help them out. They can help you advocate for groups to help you. But then they also have some innovative leadership programs. One of the coolest things that makes me very proud as an American to participate with, there are diplomatic councils across the United States, and actually many of them are members of the Border Philanthropy Partnership in San Antonio. We help them every year, and they actually have me travel to San Antonio to work with a delegation of visitors, international visitors from across the world. They come together during pandemia. They're not doing it during COVID, but we've been doing it now with them for 5 years. And we organize tours. We take them down to the border where they meet with Customs and Border Protection. They meet with Catholic Charities. They meet with universities. They meet students from around the globe, from Mexico, for example, if they're in the borderlands. Different groups doing amazing things. We meet with human rights advocacy groups. We meet with different organizations doing amazing things. But what this International Visitor Leadership Program is, you have to think about who's participated in it. This is an effort by the United States Department of State to help, through humanity and goodwill activities, prepare people to go on to public service in other areas of the globe. Former Prime Minister Tony Blair, former Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany, and Tony Blair from the United Kingdom, they participated in the International Visitor Leadership Program, and they went on to be the leaders of their country. So you want to get involved in these different groups. They provide scholarships. They're always doing, hey, they want to identify some groups from a local community to participate in a leadership development program. It could be funded by them. So lots of different ways for you to work. But if you're participating, and I'm doing this session today in English with Spanish translations, but we intentionally did that to reach out to United States expats living in Mexico to help you understand how you can have an impact. But you should reach out to these people. They should know you're there. You should, as a citizen, you should be registered with them anyway, but you want them to know that you are there and what you're engaged in, because you can encourage them to participate and partner with you. Let's go on to the next slide, please. The diaspora. Oh my goodness, this is a huge opportunity. We mentioned it briefly a few times, but your organization needs a strategy to engage diaspora community. If you are in Mexico, you want to engage Mexicans living in the United States. But if you're American, you also want to engage the Americans. So really thinking about how you can approach your fellow citizens, whether you're Mexican or American, to engage with you, because they're going to want to help. Americans are just crazy about community engagement, volunteerism, and they're always looking for an opportunity. So you should find out where other Americans are in your local community and encourage them to participate with you. They'll give you money, they'll donate their time, they could give you a computer, they could do all sorts of ways for participating. But diaspora is a great way to mobilize your fellow citizens to engage across a whole different sector of causes, where they can make an impact, they can connect with people, they can give personally, they can help champion issues. Mexico has really done a fantastic job creating clubes de oriundos, hometown associations. Mexico has the largest consular network of any country in the world here in the United States. And with over 51, well, 50, not over 51, they have 51 diplomatic outposts across the United States, more than any other country. And in each of those consulates, they formalize hometown associations. So imagine here in the United States, whether you're in Los Angeles or Houston or Dallas or in Nogales or up in Chicago or Boston or Minneapolis, where they have a large consular presence, you could get on the radar of the consulate, because if you have a local group of Mexicans doing good work through their hometown association, they can raise money in the local community and they can champion your cause where you are in Mexico. So lots of opportunity. There's over 35 million, it says on my slide 30, but it's over 35.5 million Mexican nationals residing in the United States, doing just amazing work. And how fortunate we are to have them here participating in our country. They're just doing amazing leadership. And I will share with you one thing. Yesterday, I was at the La Jolla Institute for Immunology, and I met the top researcher at the La Jolla Institute for Immunology, that Dr. Fauci from the National Institute of Health. He's championing their research about COVID-19. And I was so proud. I did a happy dance. The gentleman leading the research at the global level with a $10 million microscope is from Mexico. He is just an extraordinary, humble guy who is wearing an LA Dodgers baseball cap, and he's just in there doing all this fantastic research around ending the COVID-19 pandemic. And who knew that this gentleman working in La Jolla was is from originally in Mexico, just a humble guy, and he's out at the forefront of COVID-19. I was so excited. I said, nobody knows you're here. And now that I've met you, I'm going to make your life crazy, because I want to involve him in everything. I was just so excited to meet him, because unfortunately, there's just such crazy attitudes about the people that come into the United States from other countries right now. And here I look at this gentleman, just extraordinary, contributing in such a positive way. I almost started to cry. He was just doing amazing work. And there's so much dissension about COVID-19 in the globe. And should we get vaccinated? Should we not? Here in the United States and many countries, they're just clamoring to get the vaccines. And here's the guy at the forefront of the global fight for COVID-19. And he was from Mexico. I was honored to meet him. Just a tremendous guy. So you never know who you're going to be with. And I just encourage all of you to find that way to make that connection with your citizens, your fellow citizens, whether they're from the United States or Mexico, and no matter which side of the border they're on, because make a connection with them, find that way. There's lots of, through chambers of commerce, through hometown associations, through lots of different opportunities, you can make those connections, and several people are using us. There's a group in Northern Indiana, a woman originally from Mexico City, and she's making annual contributions to a cause in Mexico City for $10,000. She's done it now through us 3 times. So $30,000 has gone into an institution in Mexico City through the Border Philanthropy Partnership from one single donor in Northern Indiana who has roots to Mexico, just doing outstanding work. So the money's there, the opportunity's there. You just have to create the opportunity. Let's go on to the online fundraising platforms. So much of COVID-19 has forced all of us to think differently. We're not investing time in travel, but we need to make sure our systems. I'm doing this webinar today from my bedroom in my home in Escondido. I'm at a plastic table that we bought from Costco. I'm in a chair that I borrowed from the office that I'll have to return when we get to go back to our office after a year and a half. And I'm on my laptop. And my dog is here at my feet. He keeps scratching at the door. He wants to be with me all day long. I just prayed that he wouldn't be barking during this presentation. But I share that because we've all made this transition with Zoom meetings and Microsoft meetings and whatever different platforms we're using. And we also need to consider online fundraising platforms. If you're not using one, I strongly encourage you to start. And I wanted to, here's 4 that you can get started with. Choose one of them at the end of this conversation and get it started. Hispanics in Philanthropy has an online fundraising platform. They do extraordinary work, but it's important to understand they're going to provide you the tools and the resources, but they're not going to do your effort for you. So, I want to create that expectation. So you have to work it, you have to manage it. You have to find your donors, but you have to do what you can to get the notice out to different people. There's lots of ways to do that, but it's an extraordinary platform. Their CEO, Ana Maria Hilagos, is just an extraordinary individual. She was our program officer when she was at the Annie Casey Foundation. She's been our supporter through the Ford Foundation. And we recently announced a huge grant to our work from the David and Lucille Packard Foundation. And I'm going to be indebted to Ana Maria Hilagos because the Packard Foundation, since we're a new grantee, they called her and they said, what do you know about the Border Philanthropy Partnership? And she gave us her aval, she gave us her glowing recommendation. And it really helped for us to get that grant that we're going to use to support COVID-19 vaccination campaigns across the United States with the consular network. And so Hispanics in Philanthropy is somebody you absolutely need to be in touch with. Global Giving is a fabulous program. They've done, one of our partners, Pro Ancavi, did a global giving campaign for their work in Tijuana. Based on US donors. They set out a plan, I think, to raise $10,000, and they got it. They got American donors to give them $10,000. They did a fabulous job. They put their message in English and they put it out there. They had all their financials, they had all the review. I personally donated. Cancer is an important issue to me. My father, my mother, my sister all passed away from different forms of cancer. My brother is a cancer survivor. My own wife is a cancer survivor, and Pro Ancavi is doing amazing work for cancer initiatives, and it just touched me personally. And so I wanted to make a small contribution to their work, but I was so proud of them for the global giving campaign that they did, for their effort. And it took a lot of guts, but you know what? They took the risk, which we've been talking about all morning. And so Kickstarter is another one. GoFundMe. GoFundMe is very popular. Everybody launches a GoFundMe page for all sorts of things, whether it be somebody wants a scholarship or they've done something cool and they said, hey, I need $1,000. So that does a lot of smaller GoFundMe pages. I think global giving would be a better solution than that. If the Border Philanthropy Partnership, for the fiscal agency partners we use our own flip cause. So if you paid your membership dues on our website, it's actually a platform called Flip Cause, We actually went to them because for us, we needed a new platform for our website, and they were a great solution. And so for $1,600 a year, they host our website and they do all the due diligence to process the payments with credit cards. We pay them a nominal fee. So that would be another one. I didn't include it on this, but I intended to mention it. So the take home, or the takeaway for all of you is start a fundraising platform online. You can't get any money online if you don't ask. We switched to online fundraising a couple of years ago, and since that time, a huge percentage of our gifts have grown. Because before we didn't take in any money online, and I think over the past 4 years, we've taken in over $160,000 in online fundraising. So it's $160,000 we wouldn't have had. It's a lot of money. Over 4 years, it breaks down. We have huge expenses to cover, so it certainly isn't enough yet, but it's a lot of money. We went from zero to all of that, and so you can too. But you can't do it if you don't start an online fundraising platform. And if you need help to do it, contact us after this webinar, and we'll help you out. We can help you get started. But it's really about telling your story. And I also want to encourage you, when you're telling your story, there's nuances, there's cultural differences. In Mexico, we worry a lot about letting people know we're such good stewards of our money. We, in my view, they oversell and I understand why they do it, but they oversell the message of that they were good stewards of the money. And in the United States, we oversell the message on impact. So remember who your audience is. If your online platform is just to reach people in Mexico, continue with the story that you're a good manager of the money and there's no abuse and those things. But if you go into the United States, you need to switch that message. It needs to be about impact. It needs to be about how many people you've supported. It needs to be that personal story, how it's touched someone's heart, because that's what'll drive. You need to understand what's going to drive the donor to make that decision. And culturally, there are differences. So if you're reaching out into the United States, you want to use your message to appeal to the American audience. And if you're in Mexico, you want to do it to the Mexico audience. And there's differences there. So you want to be careful with that. Let's go on to the next slide, please. There's additional resources that we like to make available. Several years ago, with funding support from the Tichi Muñoz Foundation out of Ciudad Obregón, from Indesol, Chihuahua, from the Fundación Rosario Campos de Fernández, and with efforts by the U.S.-Mexico Border Philanthropy Partnership, we provided a portal of Spanish language tools. It's called Pro Capacidad. Our good friend, Lucila Murguia Aronte from Ciudad Juárez helped us. She's currently the director of the Junta de Asistencia Privada. It wouldn't have been possible without her. Malaura, Celith on this call just did amazing work. Our friends at Fundación Comunitaria Frontera Norte provided the platform. Luis was extraordinary in the beginning. I hope I'm mentioning everybody that had a role to play. We like to share the credit, but there's 300 tools and growing on this. There's webcasts, there's webinars, there's downloads. It's all in Spanish. It was all created with the best tools from Board Source, from the fundraising school. And we didn't just put stuff out there. We did a survey of the nonprofit network and said, what do you need? What tools do you need to strengthen your organization across 9 thematic areas? And that's what's out there. If you need something that's not there, contact us and say, hey, could you do something about this? Because we're every day, every month, every week, we're putting new tools out there. We're trying to keep them up to date. It's a yeoman's effort, but it's really just been a wonderful addition to our services that we provide to our member network. It's available for free. You don't have to be a member to benefit from Pro Capacidad, but it's the only online resource that we know of in the Spanish language available to help the nonprofit sector. And so check it out. And if you want to make suggestions on what we can do to add to it, to improve it, let us know. But it has great tools and resources to help you. To help your organization. You can download the tools, the articles, the virtual seminars, and put them to use. We didn't create it so that we go, oh, it's wonderful. We put it to use so that you can open them up, you can attend the sessions, you can learn and grow your work and grow your impact. So I really encourage you to check that out. And as our last slide, I'm going to say thank you. I want to appreciate the time you spent with us today. I'm happy to answer any questions. We can leave this slide up. I'm not sure how we'll do the questions and answers. I'm going to ask Salith to help me identify the questions or the conversations in the chat. If there's anything we need to go through, any questions people have, or if you want to raise your hand or whatever you need to do to bring forward a comment or a question, we're happy to do so. So thank you all for contacting us and participating with us. I see there's 2 hands raised. Salit, can you help me understand who's raising their hand and how we can answer a question?
Sí, buenas tardes. Andy, tenemos una pregunta del señor Robledo. Su pregunta, el comentario es: buenos días, ¿cómo se pueden acceder a fondos para la colaboración y desarrollo en las actividades a las que dedicamos nuestros esfuerzos?
I would take a step back a little bit about, and you want to examine what you're doing. So if your project is a specific thematic area, you want to, you could contact us, for example, we can help you go into the foundation directory online, and we can say, look, you're working in this particular area. Let's figure out who some foundations are that might be interested in your work. And then you're going to need to do a little research. You're going to need to go in and understand when are their next RFPs going to launch? What are their requirements to request a grant? Are you eligible? You also could create a campaign where you're just going out and asking individual donors to support you or corporate sponsors. So it should be, I think these are some areas. Salit, next question.
Están preguntando que dónde vamos a incluir los enlaces de la presentación. Ambas se encontrarán en nuestro sitio que se ve en la pantalla, www.procapacidad.org, y eso estará disponible casi al finalizar la presentación.
Okay, so Salit is saying that they will post today's webinar on Procapacidad. If we can also, I don't know if we can email the slides, Salit, to all the attendees. I would be fine with that as well, but I don't know if we have the attendees' email addresses. Are there any other questions?
Preguntas no, pero Andy, sí, Agustín Landa te manda a saludar. Te agradezco.
Muchas gracias, Agustín.
Muchas felicitaciones y gratitud por la presentación. Y eso es todo hasta ahorita. Sí, con eso cerramos la sesión de preguntas. Hay una más, Andy, pero disculpen, acaba de llegar. Esta es en inglés. Dice, good morning. During the pandemic, we have fed our neighborhood. Raising all the money through social media and personal contacts. How do we connect with a fiscal sponsor for future work?
My contact information is on the screen, andy@borderpartnership.org. You can also reach me on my cell phone, 317-989-0123. You can also reach me in Facebook or on Twitter, Andy Carey at Border Philanthropy Partnership. We are available, so get in touch with us. We would be happy to help you. I see somebody, Salit, is sending an email. Will we have, are we able to capture that email so that this person can receive the presentation?
Yes, we are.
Excellent. This is our second time to partner with the Municipio from San Miguel de Allende, Fernandez Esparza, and in the Office for International Relations and in NGO outreach. I'd like to give a shout out to Fernanda and her boss. They've just been extraordinary partners, as well as our friends at the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona and all the nonprofits in San Miguel that have participated over the last 7 years in our trainings and workshops that we've done at the La Casona Hotel and the Real de Minas Hotel, as well as our friends from across the borderlands here in Nuevo León, in Tamaulipas, in Chihuahua, Sonora, Baja California. I hope I didn't leave out a state, Sonora, I don't know if I mentioned them. But anyway, it's just fabulous to have everybody on the call with us today. Fernanda, I believe, wanted to say a word. Fernanda, if you'd like to speak, we'd be happy to have you. Salit, is Fernanda able to speak, or is that complicated?
Hi. Hi, Andy. Hi, Malaura. Hi, Salit. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. Was so important, the webinar, to everyone. We're still working with you. Thank you very much.
It's
And
our
have a
pleasure,
nice
Fernanda.
day. Gracias, Malaura. Un abrazo.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from our audience? If you haven't had a chance, we would love to, if you're not participating with the Board of Philanthropy Partnership, please consider joining. We'd be honored to have you participate in our member network. And you can make that happen by, on our website, you can see the information. You can join online, or if you're looking for a recibo deducible, we can provide that in Mexico. So thank you so much. Any other questions, Salit?
No, Andy.
Well, thank you, everyone. We will sign off, and thank you for this opportunity to allow us to work with you today to talk about bringing in funding sources in the U.S. for Mexican nonprofit organizations. Thank you so much.